from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Pretty wild. All right, we had a little technical difficulty with the beginning there. I don't know, it just bleeped out a little bit, but welcome everybody to another episode of Full Spectrum Universe. I'm your host, Rob Yox, and this is the embattled broadcast from behind enemy lines in the one great state of New York. Also, designation third dimensional Earth matrix, aka moving into the fourth dimensional Terra matrix. If you watched last week's episode, you will understand what that means. Tonight, we're going to be going over Ascension cycles, and Ascension Plan B. We've mentioned it multiple times throughout the broadcasts. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that we're explaining what we're talking about. It seems as if I have a bit of a lag at the moment, but that's okay. We're here. So one of the things I want to start off with this evening is, and I apologize for the late episode here. I worked 11 hours today, so if I look tired, please don't hold it against me. We're still going to come out high vibing. We're really going to come into this thing and knock it out of the park. This is all level 2 Ascension type of protocol stuff, and I really want to get into it, but I want to take a moment before we do that, because there are people out there on this planet or in this matrix that need healing, that need awakening, that need some sort of energy from the collective to truly uplift them and grab them by the bootstraps and kind of give them the kick in the pants that they need to essentially move into the awakening states and understanding of awakening. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take a moment and I want to clear the protocols and get our energies right? I want to make sure that we're receiving this information with open minds and open hearts, because that's truly the most important. So we're going to take a moment, and all the things that happened today, we're just going to let it all fall away. We're going to engage in the present. We're going to engage in the now. And we're going to understand that we are frequency. We are vibration. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. And if not us, who? Also, as we always say, the information is the activation. And what we have to do is we have to resonate within the information and spread that information to any corner of this matrix that we possibly can, whether it's to your neighbor, whether it's to social media platforms, wherever it is. And here's one of the things, right? There's this duality when it comes to social media platforms, because a lot of what we talk about is getting back to ground or back to earth and really connecting with the great mother, right? And Mother Gaia. But at the same time, people like myself and some of the others are out there who have shows and are trying to reach as many people as possible have to keep one foot in the inside of the machines of those who would wish to control us. So we essentially become the front lines. And I say this all the time, but I'm going to say it again because it's important. I will gladly give it all up for those who come either next to me or after me. I will give everything. There will be no stopping me. There'll be no going forward and not giving back to those people who are out there and listening and supporting and who are thirsty for the information or thirsty for the knowledge, just like I am. And we're kind of that, we tiptoe in and out of these platforms to basically practice and show messaging that will either help people or, they'll be dismissed, but it will never do harm. And we have to keep one foot inside of the parallels. And I just want to say that I love everybody and I love all of you and I love the family that we're creating and community that we're creating. It's so strong and it's such an amazing feeling knowing that there's people we're getting closer to and essentially getting to know, and it feels like we've known them forever, which we probably have, right? So let's get into, first and foremost, ascension, right? We use this word so much to not define it or give it some sort of tangible meaning. It could pretty much mean anything. But when we say ascension, we're talking about this, okay? And this goes up to 15 days. So there's incarnate, the soul, the monad, and the avatar. Now, we're going to explain this a little bit more. And it starts with ascension, or also known as a spiritual awakening, is a simultaneous or simultaneous increase of expanding consciousness that occurs when our spiritual energetic bodies connect to our physical bodies. Again, let me repeat that part. The expanding consciousness happens when our spiritual energetic bodies connect into our physical bodies. Generally, the catalyst for a spiritual awakening is a discovery through the process of Kundalini activations that starts in the base of our spine, and it moves the intelligent energies up into the spine and into the crown. As a human being undergoes the awakening process, which can progress gradually over many years, that person shifts into perceptions of higher consciousness, which can include increased awareness of energy and the environment, perceiving multidimensional realities, sensing extra dimensional entities, and feeling a direct communion with God and the interconnecting energies that exist between all things, right? So, ascension is a change in the spectrum of frequency through Kundalini awakening and a change in the focus of our consciousness. Ascension is about moving our consciousness from one reality to another. And since reality is a dimension, what we're undertaking essentially is a full dimensional shift. To go through this shift, we must adjust our way of thinking and being, that which is in alignment with our soul purpose and our true divine essence, right? So, ascension is a complex quantum mechanics governing the movement of consciousness through time and space. So when we say ascension and we talk about awareness and we talk about energies, this is a complex quantum mechanic that is being governed or is governing the consciousness through all of that is, was, ever will be, in every shade of gray you can possibly think of. Consciousness is an energy as well. Energy is intelligent consciousness. When energy shifts, so does our consciousness. Time and space, as we have known on the planet, is changing, and we're moving into a future timeline. The gradual exposure to frequency activation or various stellar bodies, the planet is transformed into higher dimensional and frequency planes of existence. One can consider the multidimensional model of our reality through the study of the universal matrix, which we talked about last time, and the universal tree of life. The shift of frequency forces of all the planetary inhabitants to shift into the newly exposed planetary frequency and adapt to the accumulative impact of those shifting energies. All humans have a unique blueprint and pace to keep aligned with the planetary frequencies. Some will adapt to these frequencies while embodied on planet, while others may not. The choice lies within each of us and is directly our responsibility. We can participate or not with our personal evolutional process. All that is required from the ascension process is to uh, participation at the level you are able, and that the attention and focus is placed on one's heart with a desire to know the true self. Now, really quickly to come back to me, when we talk about ascension, sometimes we use information as grounds to call on an ascension. But really, what that information is doing is it's shifting your frequencies, right? And it's basically adjusting the perception of the true divine purpose or the true divine self and how it interacts with it. That's what the ascension part is the way in which your consciousness and your physical interact with that information. So there is a congruency between mind, body, and spirit. And when those are in alignment, as well as the variable of masculine and feminine energies, is when we truly reach for that ascension. And that's when that process starts to begin. And until those points, it's very difficult. We can get glimpses and flashes of a ascension. It might not just be the full bodied ascension. We'll call it ascension light, right? So there's a lot of definition here. There's a lot of things that we're talking about. So let's keep going because it's important to keep the progression, right? So as we develop self-awareness, which is the knowledge of self, we are developing the right relationship to self, and thus we can better develop our relationship with our God source. We cannot know the highest expression of our nature until we know the deepest inner contents of our own being. Self study is self mastery and is a pathway to expanding consciousness and awakening the Kundalini experience. So, there's a lot that we've made slides for tonight, but there's some that we have not. So, we're going to talk right now about the next step, which is embodying higher frequencies. This is important. I'm just taking a sip of my coffee because embodying the higher frequencies gives us access to more of our available potential. And available potential is limitless. So, the ascension stages, right, are about bringing the layers of light or the Kundalini force existing within the levels of our spiritual bodies or our multi-dimensional God selves by descending these layers into matter and anchoring them into the physical plane of reality. Simultaneously, ascension is a shift in the energetic spectrum of frequency and the patterns held in that dimensional space, which, when absorbed and activated into the layers of the planetary and human bioenergetic field, activates its DNA. The silicate matrix template instruction set is what that's called. This catalyzes a chain of events that creates a complex transformation and transmutation of various patterns and programs held in the energetic template of the human soul's journey within a cycle of evolutionary time. When activated, these patterns begin to shift, remerge, and clear from the layers of experiences coded in every cell and memory pattern held as an energetic vibration within the body. This part of the biological ascension process may manifest physical and mental, emotional ascension symptoms, as well as a spiritual crisis of the dark night of the soul. Now, we all do that, what's called shadow work, but that critical mass point is called the dark night of the soul. And this is during the spiritual initiation or active Kundalini ascension stages. There are four main types of the down cycle of spiritual crisis, which could be associated with what the ancients and mystics have called a dark night of the soul. And these spiritual development phases are unavoidable. So, let's talk about emotional clearing, because emotional clearing goes hand in hand with embodying the higher frequencies. Now, this is also how we, through that shadow work or the dark night of the soul, and essentially what we're doing is we're clearing that energy out to make way for new frequency activation, vibrational frequencies to reside within those cells, which means that we have to look at those moments in time and rectify whatever that situation is, or try and codify it in the sense of knowing it's there, knowing how it affects you, and not letting it consciously have an effect on the outcomes from that forward, right? So we know what that's happening. There is a question, somewhat semi question down here. So energetic bodies oscillating harmoniously. Yes, I believe that we are doing that because we're studying the connection between mind, body, and spirit, and everybody, even atheists, can relate with that, because when we feel things, it's on an emotional level or a physical level, or in a way that creates, let's say, fright or flight of mechanisms. And coming from a perspective where fight or flight is not the only pattern of thought, where we have, there's, fight, there's flight, freeze, flight, but to come at it from a more logical and, I guess, less aggressive standpoint, to take a step back and not go with that first thought. Take that second one, because it's probably a more well thought out thought. You know what I mean? Those types of cycles, we're breaking those. We're breaking and shedding those dualities in a sense, or, those programs. We call them programs a lot, right? Because programs are essentially what we talk about, where when you're born, you are put through a perspective training course by those who may not want to be the ones training you. But those programs can be inherently good or bad depending on the emotional stimulus. And what happens is our brain becomes, well, not our brain, but our subconscious goes to those places without us having any control, which is why kind of retraining your subconscious is a very difficult thing to do. But I suggest it for everybody, because it helps you to not be, you know, an emotionally reactive person, which means that you're more contemplative and a little bit more reserved. And when you're a little bit more reserved, you tend to make better decisions, regardless of what it is, because you've thought it out, whatever the case is. So, but I do believe we are all, this community is oscillating in a harmonious frequency as we speak. So let's keep going. Emotional clearing. Emotional clearing is the main process we will experience and be acutely aware as we shift through the ascension. Since emotional pain and imbalance are responsible for a state of dis-ease, disease, many of us will experience illness or physical releases pain when clearing our bodies from this energy. Some of this clearing is your karmic, genetic, or ancestral soul lineage as well. Some of us, as light workers, have chosen to clear states of imbalance for the collective or for a specific group, and we will feel this movement of energy transmute through us as our energetic being is acting as a cosmic filtration system for greater whole. Also, as these painful patterns are removed from soul record, the clearing recodes our DNA so it can hold more light, thus sustaining our frequency and our state of increasing higher consciousness and multidimensionality. And as we hold this greater light and advanced genetic package in our bioenergy field, it enables others through the principle of resonance to vibrate and increase frequency rate and activate their own inner potential and divine inheritance towards ascension. Principles of resonation or resonance, right? This is incredible. If you know about it, it's part of the laws, right? The laws that we talk about, universal laws, where one pitchfork basically rings or tuning fork, the other will vibrate back. It happens to human beings as well, right? So we talked about that with the law of resonance. Our life force will react to adjust on every stimulus or force that is being exposed to within the body, mind, emotions, or spirit. If the force of the stimulus is stronger than the inner force present, the bodies are forced to adjust in a way where the consequence of that force is perceived, experienced. If the force of the stimulus is dissonant, the consequence of that force can range from mildly unpleasant to excruciatingly painful. Depending on the inner spiritual core, the development will be the relative reaction or response that impact these forces will have upon your mind, body, emotions, or spirit. So, this is what we talk about, right? This is what we're talking about on how we essentially affect those around us, even when we're not speaking. Our energy alone can change and essentially move mountains. Take the darkest souls and turn them to light. This is one of our powers. It's a superpower, and we all have it. So now what we're talking about is essentially when you go somewhere, let's say you're on your way to a party, and some of us like to party, some of us don't. I personally am not a big party guy, but we walk into that crowded room, and immediately you feel heavy, you feel saturated, and you feel dull at the same time because the vibe of that party is low monotone voices kind of rumbling in the distance. Your body expresses that. Your blood pressure decreases, your heart rate goes down a little bit, and then you start to yawn as if gasping for air because the air is so thick, right? And then there's the complete opposite of that. You walk into a party and everybody is really high energy and kind of maybe not spiritually advanced, but feeling themselves spiritually. And all of a sudden you smile, your heart rate picks up. That tired feeling you had from working all day just washes away because it's like we're like the tuning fork, resonate with those around us. Now, here's the nuance to this. You can protect yourself from both good and bad by knowing how to stay within the state of which you are residing in at that moment. You can deflect the negative and sort of absorb the positive. Or you can deflect the positive as well. It doesn't matter. There's ways in which we can go ahead and receive that energy or not receive it at all. And it's all about a state of mind. And it's all about your resonant frequency. Your frequency can butt up against that stimuli and it will have zero effect and you just level out and ground it out back to zero. Or you could take a small fraction of where if it's bad, it'll lower your frequency just a touch, but not override it, and vice versa. It can go the other way as well. Right. So there's a lot to there's a lot that we're talking about with energetics and the ebb and flow of energy. So also something to keep in mind. But getting back to Ascension, now we're going to talk about the 5D Ascension and how it's been boarded. Now, we've talked about Ascension Plan B, which is going to be what we talk about immediately after this section, because that is the backup plan to what was originally meant for humanity, right? So, this is what we talk about. The 5D Ascension is the original evolutionary scheme or ascension plan for the planet Earth. And at the end of 2012 timeline, or at the end of the ascension cycle, or the end of an age of humanity, the original plan was aborted by the Crystal Star Guardians. And in the knowledge that we know, it was shifted from about 2004 to work around the Guardian aura teams as opposed to, what it was before, and they were actively building the Crystal Star host architecture for planet Earth. And in 2005, they were made aware of the original plan was aborted, and the councils disbanded and reassembled to work on a new mission upgrades, and they called it Ascension Plan B. And we're going to talk about that. Before we do that, I want to talk about mission upgrades first. So, mission upgrades is the elemental re-encryption process of this avatar of Ascension. It's called the AOA project as a part of the Aurora Guardian family is an adjustment that the actual changes that coordinates with your birth blueprint and its genetic imprint on the flesh. When we incarnate into the 3D, we had to accept huge miasmic package that is attached to the collective human race mental bodies on this planet, right? These are called negative forms or shadow or phantom sun bodies. These phantom bodies are what connect humans to the timeline of the 9/11 timelines of the Armageddon software. And this is what brings about the negative alien agenda. The transduction sequence is the definition of when the God spark connects to the core manifestation body on the 12 tree grid, which projects out mental, physical, manifest body. 3 layers of ego, right? And as we know, a major project, the AOA Aurora, is to re encrypt the elemental structure of our bodies, as well as anchor the architecture to build to Unity source code platform. This changes the false 911 timeline architecture, and it is what works of this community in basically these evolved spiritual community is in laying the template of the law of one in the ascension timeline. This timeline exists in the Aurora time continuum. And on a later date, maybe next episode, we'll go over the Aurora re encryptions and what that means. So now we have slides here, but they're kind of not hitting it right where we're going. So I want to talk about Ascension Plan B and what that means. So again, we talked about the original, age of humanity, or the evolutionary scheme of the 5D ascension, and how it was aborted essentially to come up with this plan B, or reconfigured, right? Because alien implants that were involved into that ascension, 5D ascension, what it's doing is it's trying to enslave the consciousness. And of course, Crystal Star Guardians and the councils, they disbanded and they worked up a new mission. This was a necessity because of the damaged consciousness fields and their timeline as a result of alien machinery, dead light, and biowave influences. And of course, the negative alien agenda, invasion of the planet, which created extensive damage from the bio neurological mind control and the alien implants used in the public and in the planet to enslave consciousness. From the combined result of multiple levels of damage to the architecture and low levels of participating consciousness in the original ascension process, the result is soul fragmentation and disconnection of the human race from the spiritual source, thus making it very dangerous to open the inner stargates of Earth during the ascension cycle, right? That had come under the control of the negative alien agenda. For these and many other reasons, in order to protect human genetics on Earth, the Ascension plan was aborted, and alternatives in the management structures are in the process of being manifested. The Aurora Guardians and the Crystal Star are working together with representatives on Earth to build the new Trinity Wave architecture to handle the plethora of consciousness issues required transiting and repairing the energetic damage made on Earth by the alien machinery, or false ascension matrix issues, which we talked about, of recycling and the static of NETs. So the original 5D ascension plan for humanity was the Stargate merge with parallel harmonic universes to which our 3D reality of planet Earth would unite with its counterparts in the parallel 5D reality. Our planet in the future timelines as well. In the future timelines, the planet is called by Terra. We know that. We talked about that. 1D to 3D, Earth. 4D to 6D, Terra. And then it goes on and on and on. We're not going to go into the other ones now because it's more important to stay within Terra. And this is why in the beginning of the show, I said moving to the fourth dimensional field of matrix of Terra, right? It's kind of why we talked like that in the very beginning. So, the audio's breaking up. Can you guys hear me now? Is everything back to normal? We seem to be getting, I don't know, a little bit of feedback, maybe, but there seems to be something going on with the internet and what's happening, I guess. But whether it's slowing itself down, or I'm not really sure, but something's going on. And we all know what that probably is, because they don't like people talking about this kind of stuff. People get canceled for this type of stuff because it's giving you blueprints and you know, actual processes to look at and achieve your true inner potential. And they don't like that. So let us keep going. So basically, again, it was the Stargate merge with the parallel harmonic universes, basically stating that when they open a Stargate, all of the fragmentations of ourselves, essentially all the way up the spectrum, because we know we have not only us in the 3D, we have a version of us in the 4D, a version in 5, a version in 6, 7, and so on and so on. By connecting the 1D to 5D via the Stargate, that fragmentation would make us whole, and basically our inlaid and our innate potential would be known right there, and we would have no problem accessing it. And this is not trying like this. What's happening now is different because they're not. There's a lot of different negative aspects of timeline machinery and or control mechanisms that they can't open that gate, because if they open that gate, then they'll be letting some of those negative entities basically come at us from 1D to 5D, and they don't want that to happen. So we're going to talk about the Christos Syrian blues. The Christos Syrian blues are blue dragons incarnated into this harmonic universe to help heal the DNA template of these fallen dragon races. And they came to work with bringing the Aurora body and to help repair the genetic mutations and to be the evolution safety net during the Ascension hosting cycle. These complex networks, Aurora portals and Aurora hubs, are the safety zone platforms brought to Earth in the 3D as a part of the Ascension Plan B. So, shifting to the Ascension Plan B is sort of, the Ascension guides, and 2012 was the beginning of this shift to Ascension Plan B. If you notice as well, there was the Mayan calendar, which was essentially going out of control, or there was a end of human age in 2012, supposedly. Now, the reason that wasn't talked about for so long was because people weren't picking up on the fact that the Ascension plan was being scrapped, right? When we started to get an inkling of the first 5D Ascension plan being completely shut down and they were going with Ascension Plan B, we had to start delving into this. There was no lucid transition from the end of human age into the light body age or the advanced human age. We couldn't get there. So now we had to put the brake on for a few years, maybe 10, 15 years, so we could start merging back into that Ascension Plan B. But they had to figure it out first. It's not just a snap of a finger and then boom, right? So that's kind of where we're sitting with this Ascension Plan B. It seems as if my audio is breaking up. I apologize for that. I'm gonna maybe I'll bring myself back on screen. That might help a little bit because we're not really talking about the slides too much anyway. So basically, I want to talk about what Ascension Plan B is. And the Guardian Consciousness is the celestial management system. The architects of creation are from the next universe called the seven higher heavens. They exist in both incarnate and disincarnate states of being in many multiple dimensions. They also perform the function and accord to the law of one and divine will, external source intelligence. They are the original progenitors of the Christ or Christ consciousness and the protectors, right? So, a lot going on here. Let's see, it's going. I'm going to see if put the slides back up if it's going to work. And this is basically the end of the astrological age. So, a short in the mic. I hope not. I hope it doesn't. Let me just check the microphones here. Or things anyway. Let's see. Audio. Boop, 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 boo. Is it still happening? Is it still crackling? Maybe if I bring my mic volume down a little bit, that could be something. How's that? Is that a little bit better? Let me know in the chat if that sounds better, please. Because usually the audio doesn't break up. I think it has something to do with the internet connection, not so much the microphone, because this is a super expensive mic, and it better not be broken because I haven't had it all but a year. So yeah, it better not be happening. Otherwise, Guitar Center is going to have something to pay for it. So I think it's still under warranty. I'm not even sure, but let's keep going. So basically, some some points of interest are the accelerated planetary intelligence realignment and each dimension systematically since 2005 to align in the inner hub and hosting our networks. The Aurora Guardian families from Andromeda and core of the next universe are hosting our planet through the Aurora time continuum, right? So the inner Templar and organic stargates are closed. They're starting to open now. They have been closed for a while. No 5D ascension, accelerated ascension plan B to ascension through the inner hub gate arc system or networks. It's called the mother arc and it's the 13th gateway. So, accelerated planetary intelligence realignments and each dimension systematically is going through this revamping process. And the Guardian assignment is to facilitate the Trinity wave architecture, which is body and spirit, right? From the 12D base pulse to override to a 10D reversal current or basically a static to destroy the alien machinery fields and attempt to build as many 12D hubs as possible to pair these grids, right? And they're also building transit stations through transharmonic gateways that are anchored into more stable fields of the planetary body and then prepare for the possible evacuation and port jumping. So basically, they're trying to remove these false ascension matrices, trying to build enough of our light body to help us, and the crystal stars are there too, with mission upgrades, and essentially bring us back to somewhat of our Atlantean timeline, right? In a way, in a way, the the Atlantean timeline is, or the timeline from Atlantis, is one where certain aspects are good, but we don't want to relive that timeline, of course, right? So they're using the soul matrix triad in this current focus of repair and rehabilitation from to 40, 5D, and 60. We are now in the presence of the 0 point, which is the spiral external time, and anything can happen in a miracle of the God consciousness. So, what we're seeing is seeing that there are entities out there from this planet, from this dimensional time space, and from outside who are helping us realign all of our energies to folk what and here's the crazy part. You're going to say that this is crazy. When all of your energy is aligned, you refer back to the 0 point, right? Now, the 0 point is something that we talk about all the time. It's a state of unification with the earth, the cosmos, and those around you. It is that moment when you're in full alignment of your masculine, feminine, body, mind, and spirit. Also, dimensionally and harmonically resonating with all that is around you, which gives you access into the, trying to say this properly, and this is my own words now, but it gives you access into what they're made up of, all that is around us, what is creating that spark within them, because it's also residing with you. And this connection gives you the ability to communicate, to send telepathic thought. When when I meditate and I look to the Alpha Centaurans for guidance, because what I'm a star seed from, they send me messages via sometimes my own voice, but with a kind of with a sarcastic tone, but it's not. It's not a sarcastic tone. It's sort of an inquisitive tone that sounds To me, it sounds sarcastic, but I know it's not coming from a sarcastic place. It's them trying to answer what I ask without basically giving me too much. So it sounds a bit sarcastic to me, like, because a lot of times I keep saying, "You know what the answer is. You know it. We don't have to tell you. You're a part of it or you're doing it." And to me, that makes me, like, jump out of my skin, like, because 'cause I'm a kinda guy who, like, wants it now, like, "Give it to me now. Just tell me if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Tell me if I'm right." And it doesn't irk them, but it kind of gives them this pause, like, should we be telling him if he's that excited about it? But and one thing I've been doing is I've been chronicling all of these messages. And, I don't really put them out there because I'm not sure. I haven't gotten full permission to give those messages out yet, but it's only at times of complete clarity that they actually come through in that way, right? And a lot of the times, like, I really want to talk to them kind of like a conversation, but it doesn't seem to be happening like that. It seems to be happening with small glimpses and basically small phrases. Like like they've said to me that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And I wasn't sure if they were talking to me as in I'm the one that I'm been waiting for, or if they're the ones that I've been waiting for. But I guess both would be applicable because they have been, right? And now we say that a lot here and we try to embody that. But then I read it to them just like we say, just like we talk about here. I say, but if not us, then who? And they kind of laughed at me a little bit. We're like, well, that's what we just said. Like it's a little bit more literal, right? And they're not like I like to joke and have fun, and they're very much to the point. And they're all about sharing information. But they keep telling me that I have to be ready to receive what they have to tell me. Otherwise, they won't tell me what I need to hear. And it's like this kind of back and forth. And I try and mentally prepare myself. And like I said, they don't always come through. And they definitely don't come through on command. Like if I was like, and it's just sort of like a telepathic communication. It's not a channeling of any sort. They're just giving me ideas, right? So now I see what Child of Light is saying here, and it's definitely my internet. My internet is acting funny. I just got the bars. So, what we can do is I've been recording this, and I will put this in a place where it won't be as jumpy, probably. Yeah, we have what's called in StreamYard, we have the streaming. But we also have local recording now. And local recording means that no matter what's happening, my computer is essentially recording me as is, as opposed to not so much through the internet. Like it's like using my camera to record me at the same time. So anything goes wrong, we can always re-upload. But so we're getting close to the end of what I wanted to talk about this time around. There's going to be more we're going to get into down the road. And I think we're going to keep this kind of going. Not the Ascension series, but something close, right? One more thing I did want to do is the Ascension timeline for the consciousness corridor. And this is the cosmic law evolution edict, right? So the Ascension timeline for consciousness corridor. The time has come where the consciousness bifurcation of the planet has necessitated additional evolutionary framework for servicing the wide spectrum of human consciousness through the founder, guardian, and crystal star planetary hosting. The crystal star hosting means declamation of the universal laws and principles, which are the essentials of natural and the cosmic Christ consciousness, which is built upon the 12 strand DNA silicate matrix design, and to rebuild the architecture of the diamond sun body upon this earth and reassemble the holographic template of the Christos Sophia recorded throughout the past, present, and future Earth timelines. The founder guardians state that the guidelines of the cosmic laws evolutional edict. That is what we just discussed. So we've come quite a bit of ways tonight. And, you know, before we close, I want to open up for questions because I don't do that enough. And I have been reading the chat more, and I apologize for not kind of. I get into like these modes where I have to just push through info because I feel like I'm not making sense. And I know it's just my own, my own things, but so maybe if I back in the mic a little bit, it helps too. I'm probably right on top of it because I get excited and I want to, you know, project well. So when we're talking about ascension, you know, ascension is something tangible. We use it in a lot of ways. We use it to describe things, to kind of apply it to information. And that's where the information is the activation comes from. By you hearing what I basically read to you or talked about, there's something inside of you that is now creating an awareness about what I just said. And that awareness is going to awaken that which is already within your DNA. And that's what we talk about when it says like there's understanding and inner standing because everything comes from within. It's all already there. It's already there. We just have to become aware of it. And then once we're aware of it, we have to practice to access it. And that practice comes through different thought patterns and perceptions, but also through meditation and projection of thought. And the way you get to that 0 point again, masculine, feminine, mind, body, spirit, dimensionally, cosmically, you become the 0 point, which is the point of nothing, where everything becomes still. And then you pull out your little finger or elliptical and you start tampering with the things that are kind of inside of yourself that until it feels right. And you can envision this while you meditate, and this will help you. There's a lot of different ways to get it done, but it takes time and practice. You cannot get discouraged. It took me a very long time. It took me a long time just to get contact. When I got that contact, I had so many questions for the Alpha Centauri that, you know, they were like, hold up, man. Like, give us some time here. Like little by little. We're not gonna just bum rush you and give you crazy download because it's already well, they did give me a crazy download. It's already here, but they haven't woken it up yet. Through light technology, we're able to implement code into my DNA, which is access of information. And not all of it is open to me yet. They haven't given me it yet. And they tell me that eventually it will happen, but it takes time, takes practice. I have to learn patience. And that's the ultimate lesson in what I'm doing now, right? So, and that's patience with everything, patience with people, patience with myself, patience with situations. You know, I used to be a really big hothead too. Like I would jump out the window at something and get, I have no filter on my mouth. So I just say, curse at people and be stupid and say really dumb things. And it's like, after it's done, you're like, what did I do? Like, why would I do that? That's just insane. That's insane. So, you know, this is one of the lessons that I have to learn. And I should have patience. I mean, every time I go to a psych or do like a past life regression, they tell me that I'm one of the oldest souls in this form of the universe. Like in this incarnation of this universe, I'm like one of the originals, they say. I'm one of the original souls created or, consciousnesses created. So it's it's a lot. That kind of me on this path to figure out what the archetype for what we're talking about and diving into. Because if I am one of those people that I should be have this awareness within myself that's giving me all of this information already, right off the tip of my tongue. But again, it's patience. It's there and reading through it and practicing it. I'm accessing more and more of it, but it takes time. It takes time. I see we don't have any questions in the chat just yet. So I know it's very, very difficult information. That's why I call it level 2 or level 3 or 4. And we're we're gonna plow through this stuff, and then we're gonna put it into action. I'm working on some courses. We're gonna create some PDFs. Some of it will be free, some of it will be paid. Um, and it'll give you something tangible to take out of that course, right? You could take with you for the rest of your life. Also, I'm working on some new things in the background that are just gonna blow your mind. We have the winter solstice event or summer solstice event if you're in Australia, and we have another event that we're working on. It's going to be a single day event. One's going to be free and one's going to be paid. So just to give you the heads up, if we're going to have some really high caliber speakers coming through, like we did in the last event, and we're going to start really moving towards level 2 type of material. While we will go back to level 1 every again too, because those are fun, right? It's fun to go back and relearn things. Like I really want to talk about Atlantis and Lumeria and the information that I've been given on it. So yeah, but yeah, everybody enjoyed this evening, and I've got to work another 11-hour day tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, and then I'm off for Thanksgiving and that Friday. And we're going to try and do another show before Thanksgiving. And if I don't see all of you before then, I hope you have a very, very happy Thanksgiving. And one more thing is, I've noticed recently that we've become a lot more acceptable, I guess, worldwide. There's a lot more people watching abroad from America than, it's almost an even ratio within America to people with outside America. And that is fantastic. I think that that's incredible that I'm able to reach people in in Germany, in France. Um, we have some Vietnamese speakers, which is really cool. There's a lot of places. Warsaw, which is Poland. We have Ireland. We've got Spain. There's so many different places have actually picked up and watched the show. I think it's truly incredible. So, with that being said, my name is Rob. Love everybody. Love everybody, including you. Stop and love yourself as well. So, you know, put when you walk into a room, emanate that love. It will change hearts and minds, I'm telling you. It's impactful. So with that being said, my name is Rob Yox. This has been Full Spectrum Universe. This has been Ascension Cycles Part 2. Next, I'm not sure what we're going to talk about yet. I might pick out some sort of specific timeline piece and kind of use that to get a little bit deeper into the Ascension itself. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We will see you all soon and have a great night.